Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back, episode 155 of Next to Madison. This episode is all about Web3. I know a lot of listeners know exactly what Web3 is. They're already using it, but this is going to become the norm. So if you're not fully familiar with Web3, you have to listen to this episode. And even if you are, you need to also learn. Technology changes, whether it's in our control or not, but this is going to make things more decentralized, where you can actually own your data. Right now with Web 2, which is your Twitter, Amazon, everything that's kind of operating pretty much right now, except for a few websites, are Web 2. Right now, when you're on Facebook, you don't own that data. They go off and they make millions on that data, just selling stuff, targeting people, doing those things. Web3 is all about control of your own data and putting that in the hands of the users. So now you can decide what that value is and if you decide to sell it or not. So Web3 is actually a really cool, innovative thing, and actually a very exciting thing. Obviously, Web 1 was all about kind of information, you had your dial-up. Web 2 was all kind of being able to interact with the different systems and the social medias and the Ubers and whatnot. We got everything from Web 2. Web 3 is going to be more of that third stage of the internet where it's putting the people back into control. So it's your cryptos, it's the blockchain, it's the .io websites, it's all this good stuff that's kind of coming in. And again, I'm not an expert in this area. I do deal with Web3 and find myself very well versed in the space. Obviously, when we talk crypto, we're kind of really are talking Web3. So this is going to be a great interview. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to kind of get into the depths with this person who is an expert in this specific area. She's going to talk about the importance of creating diversity before Web3 fully launches. So you can have, we're hoping to have more women in this space, so it's not such a technology isn't such a frat house like it's always been. So that'll be kind of cool because I've always kind of had a desire to work in Web3 too. So this is exciting for me. We're going to talk more about NFTs. We're going to talk about digital identity, not the one that the government's talking about, but your digital identity, where you own and have control of the information and decide where it is shared. So that's pretty cool stuff. It's all about taking the power back and giving it to the people, which is decentralization. So even if you're not ready for it, you better get educated because it is coming and it is coming fast. And the sooner you adapt, the more you can take advantage of these opportunities and prepare yourself so life becomes even easier and even better. So yeah, we're going to get into all that stuff. I'm going to have her explain exactly what Web3 is. So by the time you guys are done listening to this podcast, you know exactly what's coming down the pipeline, and maybe even you have a new idea by the end of it and might want to launch your own Web3 business. So here with me to talk all about Web3 and all the exciting things that are happening and how our future is now going to be more in our hands is the amazing Sandy Carter from Unstoppable Domains. How are you?
I am doing great, Madison, and I am so excited to be on your podcast too. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here to kind of talk all about Web3. And I know some of you out there, you know what Web3 is. You're already dealing with it with your MetaMask and OpenSea and, playing with the NFTs and the crypto space. But not everybody totally knows about it, right? So we all know about the internet, but people are saying, what? There's a Web 1, there's a Web 2, we're in Web 2, and now there's a Web 3. Yes, Web 3 is coming whether you like it or not. So do not turn off this podcast. You want to hear this podcast. It is going to educate you so you are prepared for the future and you can take advantage of the opportunities that may come your way because you listen to this podcast. I'm giving myself way too much credit, but
I think it's true. I think it's really true. As my daughter likes to say, Mom, it sounds like there's a gazillion opportunities. And I'm like, yep, you got it. There are a gazillion opportunities.
Yes. And that's what life's all about. And I always preach on this podcast, which is, even though we're in the comedy category, we've been a little serious lately, but it's all about lifestyle and improving your life and getting out of that dead end job that you may hate or feeling that you have to just work until you can, retire and then die. I mean, what a sad, sad life. So, but if you like that, no offense, I don't judge. Anyways, But this is all the opportunity and creating the life that you want to create. So Web3, I feel, is going to just create so many more entrepreneurs and multimillionaires, and I'm so excited for this. So real quick, just explain for the people that don't really know, kind of in depth as much as you can, what exactly Web3 is.
Thanks, Madison. So the way I like to describe the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is around ownership. And if you think about it, like my one sentence is Web 3 is an open movement. So that means it is completely open, transparent, authentic, to broadly decentralize the internet. So today, we have a lot of centralized companies that everything goes through. Imagine what happens when Amazon Web Services go down, half the internet is down. But it allows for individual ownership of identity and personal data. So it's open movement to decentralize the internet, allowing for that individual ownership of identity and personal data. So if we think about Web 2, where we are today, in the Web 2 world, you sign in as a user to an application. You have to sign into Uber, you have to sign into Google, you have to sign into Instagram. And as you do that, your identity doesn't travel with you. For example, when I got and joined into Discord, all the 85,000 followers I had on Twitter went away. I had 0 because I was signing into a new application as a user. Mm-hmm. But in the Web3 space, I take that influence with me. So I can sign into a metaverse. I can use my same ID to sign into a game. I can use that same ID to sign into a DeFi application. Why is that? Well, it's because my individual ownership of that identity sits with me and not with a customer. Now let's talk about your data. If you think about your data today, Web3 data is all based on the blockchain. And the blockchain enables things to be stored in blocks, just like it talks about, or little storage units. And those blocks are immutable. They're also transparent, so you can see it. But it also enables ownership of that data. That data is programmable, you own it, and it's interoperable. And so as you look at that data, you could imagine that today I can do a humanity check with that data, proving that I am a single individual. In the future, I might be able to store healthcare information or education information. We were talking earlier about my daughter, and my daughter just took a class, and as a high school senior, and she took a class at a community college. To get that transcript, I had to fax something to someone and then actually snail mail a letter proving who I was. So imagine in the Web3 world, that identity of diploma, of certification, of class sits with you. You take it with it. It's not controlled by someone else. So that would be how I would describe it, Madison, and some of the differences between 2 and 3, Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah, and I do love that because, Web 2, which is pretty much kind of everything we've come to know, we'll talk about Facebook in this example. You log in, you upload your personal pictures, you share your personal thoughts, you've got your friends, you've got your hometown, you've got your school, you have all this data that you don't know. You've now given it to Facebook, and then they can go and sell it by then selling it to advertisers to target specific groups like yourself. So they're making tons of money off your own data. And nobody has thought, whoa, hold on a second. I don't like Facebook. I don't like what they stand for. Something's got to go on. And this is where Web3 is great, because you actually own that, and Mr. Zuckerberg can't go off and make money on it anymore. So I like that.
Yeah. So, if you think about it, property rights really don't exist on the internet today, because individuals, they don't really own their videos, their posts, their profiles, their online content. Yeah. All that is owned and profited by. So the control, the ownership, and the profit of your data all goes to someone else. Mm-hmm. And Web3, individuals own their data. Individuals choose whom I share that data with, how much data I want to share, and when I want to share that data. So it gives that power of identity and data back to you, not to a government, not to a company, but back to you.
And I like that.
I think it's very powerful.
It definitely is, because we've heard of, so Web3 is like, you have your online ID, or like your digital ID, but I think that is being confused with what we've kind of heard the rumors of some of our overlords, as we call them, in the government, saying, oh, everyone needs a digital ID. That is not the digital ID we're talking about. That is bad. That is bad, 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 bad. This is your ownership, where you don't have to share it with the government. The government doesn't have any, can't peer into anything you're really doing. Just pay your taxes and don't commit a crime, and hopefully they'll stay out of your life, and we'll be good to go.
That's right. Well, and if you think about Web 2 as well, there are some other issues that exist out there, right? Companies can delete your profile or your content.
Yes.
It happens all the time. Security breaches lead to vulnerabilities, and then that personal data gets in the control of bad actors.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got bots and troll farms that function unimpeded in that world as well.
Yeah.
And so there's just so many things. When we created the internet in 1.0, we had dreams for it. We thought that 2.0 would really be the answer. And now Web 3.0, you get better every time. Web 3.0,
Yeah.
I think, really then puts this back into the hands of you and I, which is where it should be. So I got a great example. We're working with a retailer, and the retailer today pays a lot of these social media platforms for information about you so they can market to you.
Yes.
What they're testing out now is with one of these digital identities. What if I now pay you, Madison? So I say, oh, you just bought a house, or you wear a size 7 shoe. Mm-hmm. If you share that information with me, instead of giving you a 20% off coupon, maybe I'll give you 40%, because now I can afford that because I'm not paying a third party. So that value and that benefit goes to you. And imagine, future jobs that we talked about. Digital marketing will change because you're now enticing the person, not another company, to share data with you. I just think there are so many possibilities here that Web3 is going to open up for all of us. Whether it's a tour guide in the metaverse, or someone who does digital marketing in a different way, or who is placing brands in a game. I just think there's so many exciting new opportunities that are going to exist from this model.
Yeah, and there definitely is, and there is so much to kind of like wrap your head around as well, because you think, so how do you feel like the full integration of Web3, how our e-commerce experience will change? So when I go to shop on Amazon, how will Amazon be different in the Web3 world?
Well, first of all, I think that one thing that will be different is that you won't be a user, you will be a member. And so new features or new functions that companies put out will be built with you, not given to you. And I think that's a really interesting take. I don't know if you just saw, but Elon Musk, just invested in Twitter.
Yes, I did see that. That was awesome.
It was awesome. And Twitter fans have been asking for an edit button forever. And, I saw Elon Musk post a survey last night. Do you want an edit button or not? Mm-hmm. Got hundreds of thousands of responses, treating that community as if they were members. They were creating their own roadmap. And I think that will be one of the things that commerce companies will see, is that they're not going to accept a company giving to them something. They're going to expect to be a member. In fact, there is a model that we're working with, and she's going to create a DAO. So a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. Think about it as an organization that provides a voting mechanism. So everybody has a vote, either one token, one vote, one person, one vote, in some cases, one company, one vote. And what she wants to do is have them vote on her next spring collection. So she's going to allow the DAO, this group of members, to vote on what she puts on market. Instead of her designing it and her telling you what you should wear next year, that pink is a hot color like you and I have, you get to vote on what you want. So it's that membership thing that changes as well.
So it's like more input. And I think it's better for the creators anyways, because then they're putting out stuff that's actually going to sell. They're putting out stuff that the people want. There's so many times you walk into stores and you go, what the heck were these designers smoking when they put out these clothes? So now it's like it'll become more resourceful, it feels like.
That's right. And even NFT collections. So I belong to the Lazy Lions and Fame Ladies, and Lazy Lions just published their roadmap. Well, it's a super cool, like fun roadmap, like none you've ever seen, with cubs and bungalows and cool things on it. But that roadmap was created by the community. And their philosophy is the community is the project and the project is the community. And so this roadmap, compared to a traditional Web 2 roadmap, this one is very outward facing. They built it with the community and for the community, not for the company, for the community.
Yeah.
Almost like a treasure hunt. It's designed on purpose. It's fun. And I think that's what you're seeing in the difference between some of these Web 2 brands and Web 3 brands, and how roadmaps are built, collections are designed, things are chosen, things are done. I think all of that will change because now you, Madison, are a member of the community. You're not a user that has no rights, if you would.
Exactly. And I think that should excite everybody out there. If you're kind of new to the Web3 space, is that, you're going to have more say, more opportunity, more, I think more money, because now you're not being taken advantage of by these centralized companies who kind of dictate what you do. I mean, I think it's going to transfer to everything. I mean, I think banking's even going to be different. These banks that are lending out your money and not paying and are paying you jack crap for it are going to go away because there doesn't need to be a central bank. Did I say that out loud? You know what I mean? Like, you can actually make more within this other space and have custody of your own assets, which is pretty cool. Scary for some and scary at times, but it actually is just so much better. It's just control.
And what enables that, Madison, is the blockchain. So, today, if you were, let's say, trying to get $10 to another person, or let's say $1,000, you need a trusted person in between. And today, that trusted person or entity is typically the bank that you talked about.
Yeah.
But when you have blockchain, which is part of the requirement of Web3, blockchain serves as that intermediary. It's a smart contract. It enables you, or whoever you're sending to have a private key, to sign it, to verify who you are. And it also takes away all the inconveniences, right? I don't know about you, but I'm racing to get to the bank between 8 and 5 or 9 and 5 probably, so that I can do my transaction, which is during my prime workday. Yeah. Now I've got blockchain there, which is technology, which enables it to be done 24/7. Enables it to be secure, right? Because you're signing and you're verifying it. It enables it to be transparent, so I can see what happened as it goes through, and interoperable, so that I can also transfer to basically anywhere in the whole world. So all of that dream that you just talked about, Madison, is enabled by the blockchain.
Yeah, and it is so great. But it's interesting as this new rollout and the whole, mass adoption of cryptocurrency is happening, and different exchanges that have come out that handle these. It's amazing how many companies still right now today claim to be decentralized or Web3, but they really are centralized. I'm going to call them out right now: BlockFi, Coinbase, or just a few. Right, they really still are kind of a centralized model, so they're going to need to change, as well.
Yeah, I would say that I like to say that we're in the dial-up phase of Web3.
Totally.
And I don't know if you remember. I was trying to remember the movie You've Got Mail. Where that sound comes on, and it's a modem, right? Like, who wants to use a modem? But that's where we are right now with Web3. And there are some things that have to be improved upon because we're just starting the journey. So yes, you're right. Some Web3 companies today are dependent on Web2 technologies. But I think that the insight there is we are building on top of prior technologies, but that's okay for where we are, as long as the company has a roadmap for how they're going to become more decentralized, how they're going to put more in the blockchain. how they're going to use more digital identity. I think it's okay for where we are, as long as they have the plan to get to all the elements that make for true Web3.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. So how, obviously what you have with Web3, you're going to have this digital identity, you're going to have more ownership. But right now, how do people, I think, because a lot of people are kind of nervous, right? It's a newer platform, more things are online. How do you protect yourself online? Because there's a lot of, I feel like there's more scam artists today than there ever have been before. They're taking NFTs that are launching, and the creators that have worked so diligently, so hard, they're somehow getting into their Discord channels, creating very duplicate sites that look so real, and then ripping people off, thinking that the NFT has launched. I mean, so how are people able to keep themselves safe in this kind of
It's a great question, because we are so early on, you do need to watch out for scammers. So if you think about it, there's just a couple of things that I would say that you really need to look at. The first is that when you set up your wallet and to buy any of these things that Madison's talking about, to go out and buy an NFT that's a piece of art or a piece of music, or even just to invest, you need a crypto wallet. And the first thing I will tell you is, when you set up that crypto wallet, you'll get a private key and a public key. You need to save your keys, because no keys, no crypto.
Yes.
Because it is decentralized, if you lose that key, you can't call up your local bank and say, hey, I forgot my password, can you reset it? That doesn't exist. So you need to save both your public key and your private key. But never, ever, ever share your private key. So Madison, I was just doing a training session for a whole group of people, and I said to them, don't share your private key. And one of the first things they did is they plunked that into the chat, and they said, is this the private key that I should not share? I was like, yes, it's precisely that key.
Yeah, start a new wallet.
They had to start a new wallet. So you do have to think about this as having, it is an asset. You wouldn't share your bank password, so don't share your private key with others. That's one, I think, big tip that everybody needs to look at. I think the second one is, when you're in Discord, there are a lot of scammers out there. So if someone tries to DM you, direct message you, and you don't know them, do not click on any links. We had that at the beginning of email, right? Don't click on any random link in email. The same thing is true with Discord. And if your users don't, or your listeners don't know, Discord is one of the new channels that Web3 collections talk on. It's like a chat room almost, with different channels in it.
Yeah.
And
a lot of good information on there. So definitely, if you're not on it, get on it.
Yeah. And in fact, if you want to learn more about Web3, one of the things I tell people is, go jump into a Discord, like Lazy Lions, for example. I jumped into that Discord first as I was learning about Web3. You can join without owning an NFT. So you can jump in there, ask questions, and learn all you want to. But don't click on any links unless it's coming from someone that you know and that you know and you believe in, I guess I would say, as well. So that's another gotcha there too. So there are some protections built in, but you do have to be very careful. As with any technology, you have to be careful in how you use it. You have to know about it, which is one of the reasons I'm so excited about your podcast. If you don't understand it and you try to use it, you can make more mistakes than when you really understand it. You don't make as many mistakes like that.
Well, exactly. And I am going to drop the hard truth, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe not. But I always say, if you're kind of new to this space, kind of start small, because I feel like talking about really crypto, which is, Web3, you don't really learn the space truly until you lose money. That's going to be your number one lesson, right? We've all done it.
I lost money. Yeah, I did right away. Yep.
I did. I think I minted a wrong NFT, so the money just got sent, but no NFT came my way. I think accidentally sent some money to the wrong wallet address. gone. So you have to be very careful. And I always say, always start small, because if you lose a couple $100, you'll get over it, right? And you can write it off as a loss on your taxes, so at least you don't have to pay taxes on it. So always remember that. If you get scammed on an NFT, please make sure you deduct that on your tax return. I always tell people that.
That's a great tip. Great tip. Yeah. And I think everybody has been scammed. And Madison, the other thing is, as a consumer, go out there and play with it. Like you said, invest a small amount of money, learn about the exchange, learn about what a wallet is. I would recommend, of course, I'm from Unstoppable. If you get a domain, then you don't have to type in that long, 16 characters of letters and numbers, because then you can just type in madison.nft or sandy.crypto and then you're done. It makes it much easier to transfer money around.
Okay, so let's talk about Unstoppable domains now and exactly what you guys do, because that is interesting when you were saying, instead of having to go and copy it. But I have many addresses, right? Because I'm always working between different kind of exchanges and different, hardware wallets, cold storage, hot storage type wallet. So I don't have just a single wallet address. So let's hear about Unstoppable domains, and then I can ask my questions from there.
Yeah, so Unstoppable Domains has really two major offerings. One is a domain. It's a domain that's similar to Web 2 domain, but it's a domain on superpowers, right?
Okay.
It goes because it is yours. You don't have to rent it. It is also there's no renewal fees, so you have it. It also lives on the blockchain. So that means that anybody can read it at any time. Like I couldn't block you from doing that, like Apple blocked Epic from putting their APIs up. We can never do that because it's on the blockchain and you can use it at any time. Perfect. The prime value of it is that now you can use that domain as your name to transfer money. It serves as your digital identity. So let's say that Madison got madison.crypto. She could associate her wallet, one of her many wallets, it sounds like, to that domain. And now instead of typing in all those letters and numbers or going to MetaMask and copying that address, she could just type in madison.crypto and go on her way. She can also own multiples of those. So like I have sandy.nft, .crypto, .x because I thought it was cool. And she can associate multiple wallets with that. So she could choose, just like you do in a bank, you have a savings account, you have a checking account, you may have a college fund for your kids. You can also choose different names for those and leverage that just like you would do with an account name. But the real power of it is that as you go in the future, that then becomes your digital identity. So hopefully someday that would also have inside of it, not just your wallet and your email, but maybe records about your diplomas. Like let's say you have an MBA from Harvard, that would be in there and you would be verifiable because it's on the chain, or could also be your healthcare records. So I just moved, and Madison, it's crazy. Like medical companies and hospitals won't give me my information. They'll only transfer it to another hospital.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
I know.
So if I had all of that stored in my digital identity, then I could use maybe sandy.x and share those records with, let's say I broke a leg or I had appendicitis. I could take that digital identity and share that, and then anybody would have, or anybody I gave access to would have access to it. So the power is just starting today to get your own identity. And if you don't have madison.crypto or .nft or .x Madison, I'm going to have to get you that before we end the show.
Will do, because this, yes, I don't want anyone to take it. So I want it. I want it. Would you encourage everybody to go out? Because you remember when Web 2 was already going, but it was really blowing up, and the e-commerce and everything was starting to really kind of take front stage. The whole thing was go out and buy your name domain, right? So you would go to GoDaddy and you would buy for example, through GoDaddy, I have madisonmalloy.com. Yep. And then I have next to madison.com for the podcast. So it was very important, because if you didn't own that, somebody else could have it. I remember having a discussion with somebody. It was like 2007. So really not that long ago, right? Are you saying that now everybody should be going out and buying a .crypto or IO?
Yeah. Oop, can you hear my dogs?
Hey, no worries. I love dogs. Let 'em
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Sorry about that. Yes, I would say that everybody needs to go out and get their name. But the good thing about it is from Unstoppable, we've protected company names. So we've had companies from all over come and get their names. We protected it so no one can buy it and then sell it to you for $1 million later.
Because
So
that's what happened with, remember?
yeah,
People made so
absolutely.
much money.
Yeah, absolutely. So people made a lot of money on it and it became a game, right? And people guessing, but we protected that. But your name is a little different, right? Because everybody might have Madison or Sandy or something like that. So, but yeah, I would definitely advise you, everybody who's listening to your podcast, to go out and get their own domain name so that they can own that in the future, because it will become your digital identity for Web3.
And how do they pick their domain name? So you were saying .crypto, .x, . I thought in Web3 it was going to be more like .io instead of .com. Is that not right?
No, so .io today refers to a lot of Web2 companies. So in the future, you can buy well, not in the future. Right now, you can buy .crypto, .nft, .x, .888. There's a whole set of domains you can buy. Some of our partners, like blockchain, if you go out there, it'll say blockchain coming soon. So you could buy blockchain.com coming soon. It's really a personal preference. Like, a lot of my community members on NFTs, they will buy .nft because they're boss beauties, or, they're boss babes, or they're crypto tech women, and they want to be known as a .nft. A lot of people want .crypto. It's our number one extension today, because it represents the exchange of value, is that cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then the fastest growing one is .x, because people just think it's freaking cool, right? So it's Madison.x or Sandy.x. You know what I mean? It's kind of a cool name. There really isn't a method yet to, what would I always pick? But I think you could pick, Madison.x.crypto.nft, and you could have them tied to different wallets as well if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, because I was just going to ask you, like, what are the differences between the .cryptos or .nfts, or, because before there was .org, .com, .gov, you knew what it meant, right? It was government or organization or whatnot. So these are just kind of your preference. They're not tied into a certain.
They're your preference, but like I said, if you own an NFT collection, I would say you should get .nft, because that makes the most sense. If you're into blockchain, maybe you do blockchain, or if you're into crypto, maybe you do .crypto. But it's really what you're focused in on today and maybe in the future. .x is cool because it's so short. Usually the shorter names, like Sandy.x, was way more expensive than almost anything else to buy. And so it really just depends on what you're interested in and what you want to be known as you go forward in the, in the Web3 world.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting. It's so fascinating and somewhat confusing at the same time. So you're saying that people should, if they can get it, should just do their first name versus like Madison Malloy.nft or
I think you could do whatever you want. I did Sandy. I did Sandy.crypto, but I also did Sandy Carter as well for my full name. I thought for maybe bank currency. But for example,
I figured it'd be more easy for them to find you with the full name versus just the Madison.
Yeah, it could. But like, I just started this group, Madison, Unstoppable Women of Web3. And so I got unstoppablewow3.x for our Web3 website, because it's short, it's sweet,
yeah,
and it's easy to do. So I did get that to build out my my Web3 website as well.
that is so cool, so exciting, so many new things that are popping up. Okay, so you talked about NFTs, and everybody kind of knows them as funky little pictures on the internet right now. It's amazing what something will sell for. My parents are in the baby boomer generation, and my dad's a CPA, and he has clients that have done very well with the NFT space. And he goes, "This guy owns like a monkey. It's worth millions of dollars." it's a freaking monkey. And I was like, oh, it's a Bored Ape. It's like a Van Gogh.
It's true.
But they're trying to kind of wrap their heads around it. And the amount of people that own NFTs is still very, very small. But the NFT market has grown so fast that I think people are having a difficult time when they mint actually reselling these things. You're just hearing about those rarities. But they're saying everything's going to become an NFT. When you buy a house, your title will become an NFT. So explain more of how everything's going to be an NFT and how that benefits us for people that don't fully understand. They're like, okay, NFT is art. Now NFT is my house.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me start with the art question, Madison. So, an NFT is simply a non-fungible token, and a token is just a digital asset. And non-fungible just means that you have a certificate on blockchain to prove that you own it. Hence, NFT, non-fungible token. So you own it. And the way that I like to explain it to people is that, today you probably collect something. Like I was trying to explain this to my mom. My mom went out with a baseball player a long time ago by the name of Ted Williams, who became very famous.
Yeah.
And so now she collects his baseball cards. So she's got a collection of these. Yeah. And each one has to be verified because they're older, right?
Yeah.
And she's collecting them and she trades them. And she's got a group of women actually that get together every week and they look at their baseball cards and they look at their new collection. So that's very similar to NFTs, right? An NFT is something that's collectible. It has to be verified, just like her baseball card had to be verified. But it's not just about the NFT, it's about the community that surrounds that NFT. Just like my mom loves it that she gets together with these friends, these friends of hers that talk about baseball cards. Now you get together and you talk about purpose and things that matter. So for example, I'm a queen in the Lazy Lions. A queen is one of the women who helped to negotiate and drive for Lazy Lions some of the diversity initiatives. And so I'm part of that because I believe in that. I believe that that's important. So it's not just that I own a picture of a lion who's lazy with a funky, rainbow hair. It also gives me access to that whole community.
Yeah.
So now let's move forward to your second question. NFTs can also drive this fractional ownership. And that means that it could be either a digital native asset like the Bored Ape you just talked about, or an actual tangible one. So real estate, I've seen people make a title to a property, an NFT, and then they have fractional ownership of it. So people own portions of things that they might not originally be able to afford. And this concept goes beyond art. I think that asset digitalization or IoT will continue to grow and NFTs will be used to prove the ownership. So let's then think about a timeshare. A timeshare is very similar, right? Mm-hmm. You can't afford to buy that condo on Maui overlooking the ocean. So what do? You buy 2 weeks. You have fractional ownership.
Yeah.
The same is true with NFTs. NFTs will be that smart contract, that non-fungible token that exemplifies a piece of real estate or a piece of art or a piece of a company, right? We have companies now that have DAOs that are based on NFTs. And so I think that's where a lot of the future is going. In fact, many people say that 2022 is the year of the DAO, of that decentralized autonomous organization.
Yeah, because everyone always thought, with corporations, it's like LLCs, go out and create an LLC. And now it's going to be more like go out and create a DAO. But that's only if you want multiple members to have say. What if I have a production company, I don't want multiple people to have input. So I don't need a DAO right now.
You don't need a DAO, that's right. You don't need a DAO.
I want to keep it an LLC for now.
That's right. Or you could say, I do want a DAO, but Madison, are going to own 60% of it. So you guys can vote, but I can always override your vote.
Yeah.
but that would give you an ability to invest. It's kind of like a SPAC. You know, the SPACs became very popular, but now those SPACs are being replaced by DAOs.
Yes.
For companies, I think, you know, but DAOs come with other restrictions too. Like I work with a couple of partners that are DAOs as their company structure. So
Okay.
a VP or an SVP like me can't make a decision. You put everything to vote by the DAO, which sounds really cool and very Web3-ish, but it slows everything down because now you take a vote at all of your major decision points as you move forward. So there are pros and cons of having a DAO structure.
So if I go out and start a DAO, how do I raise money? Do I raise money by issuing a token for the DAO and then people can go buy it on an exchange?
That's right. So you can either do, we've seen DAOs that are one token, one vote. So you could buy multiple tokens.
And
We've seen one person, one vote. So you use something like Humanity Check to prove that you are a person. You're Madison and there's only one Madison. Or there are also DAOs now that are one company, one vote. So like open standards groups, right, that used to get together and each company would have one vote. Now they're doing one company, one vote. There may be more people in the DAO, but every company only gets one vote. So one token, one vote, one person, one vote, or one company, one vote.
And I kind of like this because before you would have these companies, right? And they'd be private companies and only high net worth investors could invest in it, or PE companies or VCs. But now it's like I could go out and start, let's say, like a new beverage company. Let's just put it out there. And instead of having to go to all this private funding, well, I could do the private funding, but then I could raise the additional capital and have a cool token with it. And so my company's pretty much already gone public because people buying those tokens allows us more capital to create more product. And the better we do, the better the value of the token. So there's really not going to be much of a need for IPOs in the future, do you think?
Maybe not. I mean, it could be. It depends upon how quickly it goes. Or I was just on this weekend on one of Gary V's Twitter Spaces. And
love him.
I do too. He's amazing. And he's doing his V Friends Series 2. But what you do is you buy a token to have a chance of buying an NFT that he's going to create. So it's kind of like almost, you know, you're going to buy, 10 tickets, hoping that at least one of the 10 tokens is going to get you access to what you really want. So it's kind of an interesting, and leave it to Gary to come up with something like that, right? To do a kind of a whitelist structure in a different way.
I mean, he made so much money, the whole 91 million in 90 days. It was like, whoa. But I just love his positivity and his message. And I remember seeing on Instagram, like back February of 2021, I think it was February or March. And he was saying, every one of my followers, load up on as much Ethereum as you could afford. I'm going to present you an opportunity that I promise you will make money, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? Like, huh? And I wish I had listened. But he was right. He was so totally right.
That's right. Well, he's coming out with Series 2, so jump on that one really quickly too. I think that he'll.
Well, how do you even get whitelisted for that? I guess you have to buy a token and hope, like a lottery.
There you go. That's
or
right.
You just try to mint it and hope you hit the refresh button fast enough.
I don't know all of his mechanisms to do that, but I thought it was interesting because I jumped on. It was interesting too because he did an Instagram live to say he was getting ready to do a Twitter Space live. So I had to go from the Instagram live over to the Twitter Space live to learn about this process to buy a token to maybe get an access. So, and he didn't lose followers along the way. It was pretty interesting, I have to say.
So where did you buy the token?
I haven't bought it yet. It's I think it goes live on Thursday. What's today? Tuesday. I think it goes live on Thursday. But I've got a reminder.
What exchange is it going to be on?
I'm sorry?
What exchange can you buy it on?
I don't know. I just wrote everything down. I don't have it in front of me, but I think if you search on Gary V Friends or Gary V Series 2, I think you could, grab one of those. I don't want to be an advertisement for Gary V, but I'm going to do it for sure when it comes up. And Madison, this is one of the other topics, that I'm really passionate about. And one that I really love about Gary V is that he invited a bunch of women to come in on this Instagram, and then he routed us over to the Twitter space because, mostly Instagram is women. Twitter
Yes.
today is mostly men.
Okay.
Because, I think this whole space, I love what you're doing because I think we need more diversity in this space.
Yes.
And having you be a leader and show others by example that women can master the space and really can understand it and do amazing things in the space. If we're going to be inclusive and community-based, what better place for women to get involved in than Web3?
Well, exactly, because it's new. We can already start with the diversity, or kind of just in there versus, tech always felt like such a boys club, tech and Wall Street. There was very few women. I remember when I started my career, I was working on Wall Street. I was a bond trader, and we had a whole trading floor. It was probably 150 people on the floor, and there was 12 women. I was one of
Wow.
12. It was
Wow.
just your traditional boys club, which was fine. I mean, that's kind of what you signed up for. But it is nice that there is so many opportunities, and I'm happy that I'm considered diverse. I didn't think I would be, in this day and age. I'm like, I'm not that diverse, but no, I am. I have a vagina. I'm diverse. So this is good.
And I think having diverse voices into Web3 early on really makes a difference. So it's one of the reasons I support things like Ancient Warriors, which is Black and brown artist. And we started Unstoppable Women of Web3. And here's why I started it, Madison. I posted on LinkedIn that I was moving from Amazon over to Unstoppable. And we got 1,500 job applicants that applied. 2% were women. I was crushed. Then the New York Times did an article about me leaving and coming over to Web3. I got another 900 job applicants, 3% women. So I started asking, I'm a chairman of the board for Girls in Tech. I have a lot. I mean, usually my teams are very diverse. I started asking women, why aren't you applying? Like, these are really cool jobs. Yeah. And they said, I don't understand it. Like, I don't get it. Kind of the way you started your podcast. Like, it's too complicated. I don't get it. And we know that women don't apply for jobs they don't understand, right? They need to be 100% sure of what they're signing up for. And so I think the mission to do education right now on Web3 is so important, especially for other women and other diverse groups, to make sure that we all get in there early and we help shape Web3 to be what we want it to be. Remember, I said it's the dial-up phase, which means that now is the time to get in and say, that doesn't make sense. We should do it this way. Or that doesn't make sense. Let's do it that way, so that we have that input into the broader picture.
Very, very well said. And I think, with this being so new, don't be discouraged that you don't understand things because it is so new. What I love about it is I feel like everyone's kind of on an equal playing field. Like, I don't feel in this space necessarily, like I've educated myself and I'm always trying to learn more and there's always something that's coming up, but I don't feel that someone who may be speaking at, like, let's say the Bitcoin conference, or a gentleman that just got into crypto last year is more knowledgeable in the space than necessarily I am. I look at them like we're all learning in this together, because technically we are. So even if you don't understand, or you haven't been in tech, there could be an opportunity for you, as long as you can learn and understand. Because I think with tech before, it was like, oh, do you have a tech background? Are you familiar with this? Can you write code? Can you do this? Are you, with this, I feel like everybody's like, nobody's really that much ahead of each other. Everyone's just learning. And if somebody tells me they're an expert, they're actually a liar, because nobody's an expert.
I'm completely with you. I think that is such an important point that you just made, that, a lot of people say, oh, I'm already too far behind. No, you're not. You're starting right now, and ask all those questions, and you can learn, go down the rabbit hole, as they like to say, right?
Yes.
Go down the rabbit hole and just start learning. And it's fun. I find it so fun, so fascinating. Mm-hmm. I do have a tech background, but I don't think it requires a tech background, because there's this creator, there's infrastructure, there's so many ways that you can get involved. Just jump in there, though. Madison, I think this podcast is going to be so helpful, because you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you can start by learning some of these basics, then you're going to get curious and you'll continue down that rabbit hole and you'll learn more. And pretty soon, after 3 months, you'll be an expert.
Yeah.
As I've seen many people, they'll say, oh, I've only been doing this for 3 months, but so it's kind of fun.
It is. And YouTube, you guys, also is a really great resource. I found when certain things will come up and new buzzwords and I don't really totally understand it, I'll go to YouTube and there's a zillion people out there talking about certain things. Obviously go to people that seem reputable, so you're learning the right information. But yeah, YouTube is a great school. You don't need Harvard anymore. Harvard is for the birds. I'd rather, don't waste your parents' money, don't waste your money. Go invest it in crypto. This is not financial advice, disclaimer, just making sure if you go broke, it's not my fault. But there's so many other better ways to learn these days. So you don't necessarily need those degrees. Like, I don't think it makes a difference in Web3. I don't think anyone in Web3 is going, where did you go to university? I don't think they care. I think it's, are you able to learn? What's your background? How are you like an innovator? Are you a go-getter? I think that's more what it's kind of about.
I would agree, Madison. What I would say though, is it's not about where you went to school, but you do need to experience it. It's not something that you can talk about setting up a wallet. Like you said, you need to experience setting up a wallet, maybe even having some of your money stolen. You need to experience going into Decentraland and experiencing their fashion show. I just went to a town hall the other day and it was so funny because in the town hall, we were all gathered to listen to this, the mayor of this town speak. And I saw people up on the roof, like they couldn't figure out how to get down. They couldn't figure out how to get their avatar off of the roof. But that's how you learn, right? You don't just learn Web3 through talking about it and reading about it. You need to do it. You need to get in there, invest a little bit of money, try a wallet, go into Decentraland, go into Atlantis Metaverse, go experiment with it, because that will increase your learning exponential by doing it and experiencing it, not just by hearing it.
Oh, very well said. I haven't played around a lot in actually really at all in the metaverse yet. The metaverse, I know it's there and I'm gonna dip into it, probably swim in it, but it does still scare me. It absolutely does. It frightens me with the lack of human connection, the real human touch, feel, emotion, voice. That's what makes me nervous about it. I've seen images where people are in these dark, secluded rooms and they've got the headsets on and it's like a jail cell. And it's like we're all of a sudden the phones were an amazing thing, but the worst thing that happened to us, to humanity. And now we have this. So it does scare me, although I know I can make money in it. So I'm going to play in it because I can then go make money and then go play with the real world outside with the money I make.
The thing I love about it is well, first it's learning. So it's fun. I was at South by Southwest, Madison, and there were some where they simulate the smells, because you know how you get so much from smell and touch and movement, and that was it was pretty amazing. But I have to say, in the metaverse, when I went into the metaverse, I'm also making new friends in the metaverse that I'm taking into real life. So I meet them there, and then I met them in person at South by Southwest. I also love, like, I bought a pair of virtual earrings that gave me access to buy them in real life, like no one else can get them unless they bought them in the metaverse. I love stuff like that. Like I like buying, cool. Yeah, I like buying things that, that are unique and collectibles, right? That collectible thing, back to the collectibles again. So there are some fun things about it. And you might be that person, next time I go, you might be Madison sitting up there on top of the roof.
Yeah.
But then someone's going to say, okay, Madison, here's how you come down. And you're so personable, you're going to make friends, and then you're going to have a dinner party. I can just see it. You're going to make a bunch of friends in the metaverse, and you're going to invite them to your dinner party. So you'll have both sets of world, right? You'll have the metaverse and real life.
Okay, so I like that. So there is still a human connection to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Metaverse.
Yeah. In fact, I just met for the Decentraland fashion show. We had a a podcast like this that was like a precursor. And so I got to meet these amazing women who were making skins for the fashion show. They were designing clothes for the fashion show. And I met them in real life, like on a Zoom like this, not in person, but in real life. And then we went into the metaverse and I saw their personalities come out through what they chose to wear. And it's really fun. It was really different. So I would say go and experience it for sure. And you would really like it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. And I also think too, it's something with, I did, and I still do it, but I'm more on like the production side, but doing stand-up comedy for so many years. And I had an eye surgery. I had PRK done on my eyes for vision, and it was about a 6-week recovery, and I couldn't go on stage without dark sunglasses because I was so light sensitive. And I remember when I was performing in sunglasses, I felt more confident, and I was just slinging it. Like I didn't have any fear, because sunglasses somehow give this almost kind of, I imagine how you would feel in the metaverse, where you're you, but you're not you're protected. And therefore you become more of your authentic self because you allow yourself to be more vulnerable, because you actually are safe, because it's not technically you. So I feel like it could breed a lot of creativity. You could kind of almost be anyone you want to be in the metaverse.
It's true. You can. And you can dress, like I know a lot of times I'll see something on the runway and I'll be like, oh, I would never wear that because it's too uncomfortable, but man, it looks cool.
Yeah.
The metaverse, you can wear it because you're not actually wearing it. So you can dress like who your personality is, and you're still sitting in your house being comfortable and everything too. I will say though, that many metaverses now are coming up with security guards and policemen because people are feeling that freedom that you just talked about. There have been sexual harassment done in the metaverse already.
I've heard about that. Somebody was on a news program. I mean, I don't know if it was Jesse Waters. I'm not sure, but this woman was saying that she was literally like gangbanged in the metaverse, and the only way to make it stop was to rip off the goggles. And yeah, that is a huge. Because I was wondering, can you get killed in the metaverse? Like you don't really die. But
no, you don't really die, but I guess your avatar can. But it's kind of interesting, like it's opening up a whole new area of how do you police? How do you have security? How do you make it a safe place? Who sets the standards? Who sets the rules? There are brand new jobs coming up in that space too. In fact, one metaverse just showed me their police force that they've just issued in the metaverse to protect against this. Yeah. So different companies are handling that in different ways.
Like I want to take out a billboard in the metaverse. Maybe we can talk offline and you can help me with that, because for this podcast.
Yeah. But that
like they could just walk around and be like, bam. Oh, okay.
That would be cool. I like that idea. And see, this is what I love about Web3 and the metaverse, this whole focus, because you can be so creative, right? I mean, and basically you can come up with a think big idea and then go and execute it. It's amazing. It's amazing and super cool.
Yeah, because I just don't kind of know how to do that. But I think that would be fun, and kind of just be able to kind of expand and grow the show, but through a more of a Web3 type way. Yeah. Which is amazing. So one of the things you had brought up that that caught my attention was once you buy, so how much are these domains from Unstoppable Domains? Like if you were to buy a .crypto or a .nft, like what's
it depends upon how long it is and how much in demand it is.
Okay.
And some you couldn't buy, like you couldn't buy, Amazon.crypto because we were reserving that for Amazon, but it can be anywhere between $5 and $20,000, $40,000. So it depends upon what you pick and how you pick it, how short it is. Usually the shorter names are more expensive. So it totally depends upon what you pick or select.
And you were saying there's no renewable fee. So it's just a one-time payment and you own it and that's it.
That's right. You own it forever.
I love that, because I get every year GoDaddy, whoop, about to hit your card for renewal, and it's like they almost change the price.
Yeah, and it's back to that thing, remember right at the beginning we started and I said the one word that differentiates Web 2 from Web 3 is ownership.
Yeah.
And so you own your domain. It's yours. You're not renting it. Like you're renting those from GoDaddy, right? So they can
Yeah.
raise the rent at any time.
Yeah.
But with Web3, you own it. It's yours.
I love that. And how do you think, so if let's say I wanted to start a new e-commerce business, but I wanted to do it in Web3, would, instead of buying, it won't be a .com anymore. Like let's say at Madison Shoes, let's just say, would it be
If you wanted to run it on Web3, you would do madisonshoes.x or .crypto or .nft. But you'd then have to set up a Web3. You'd be using a Web3 browser like an Opera or a Brave or Chrome with a special extension. And the problem today, we've been talking about the good stuff about Web3 and where Web3 needs to go. There's not a lot of search engine optimization today available for a Web3 site. So when I've
never heard of Opera or Brave. I haven't heard of these.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a Google or a Bing, but it's for Web3 sites. So Opera and Brave are the two normal ones. Chrome has an extension to be able to search on Web3 websites. So if you go out to Unstoppable Women of Web3, Unstoppable Wow3.x, and you'll see an example of a Web3 website. So for that, I did both a Web2 and a Web3. I did Web2 so we could be searchable. And then I did Web3 because we're women of Web3. I felt like I had to have a Web3 site.
You do, exactly. And and you guys go check it out, because a lot of people are probably wondering, well, what does a Web3 site exactly look like? Well,
that's
right.
Your
chance. UnstoppableWomen.x, correct?
Yep, that's right. You got it. Unstoppable Wow3.x.
Unstoppable Wow3. Okay.
Wow3. Yeah, it's Women of Web3. So we abbreviated it Wow3.
I love it. I love this. Well, this was awesome. Like, I loved this interview. I loved meeting you. This was just such a cool, more in-depth kind of a knowledge. And I felt like I learned a lot. So hopefully all you listeners learned as well, because that's the point of the podcast, is to make you healthy, wealthier, and whatever else you want to be. That's my mission statement.
That's awesome. You have a great way of interviewing too. So thank you. You made me feel very comfortable. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I so appreciate you being on and taking time out of your busy schedule. I am just honored that we were able to connect. So thank you. And everybody listening, wherever you are, thanks again for tuning in. And we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.